All right, today we're going to break down the very core of what makes a website feel alive. We're talking about JavaScript's dynamic duo, functions and events. We're going to see how you can write smarter, way more efficient code that responds instantly to every single click, tap, and scroll.
You ever just stop and wonder what's really happening when you click a like button? Or how a website just magically knows to load more content right when you scroll to the bottom? Well, spoiler alert, it's not magic. It's actually a really powerful combination of JavaScript functions that are just listening for user events. And today, we're going to pull back that curtain and see exactly how it all works.
So first things first, let's talk about the foundation of pretty much any good JavaScript program, and that is functions. Seriously, these are the building blocks that are going to save you from writing the same tedious code over and over and over again.
So what even is a function? At its heart, it's just a named block of code that's designed to do one specific thing. I love this analogy. Think of it like a recipe. You write it down once, right? And then you can use it as many times as you want, maybe just changing the ingredients, which in the coding world we just call parameters.
Now this right here, this is the classic, the OG way to create a function. You use the function keyword, you give it a name, like greet, you tell it what parameters it needs inside those parentheses, and then all your logic, all the action, goes right inside the curly braces. It's simple, it's straightforward, and it is an absolute cornerstone of the language.
Okay, so you can literally see the evolution of JavaScript right on this slide. On the left, we've got the classic function expression, where you assign a function to a variable. It works great, no problems there. But then, look to the right. That's the modern ES6 arrow function. Just look how much cleaner that is. There's no function keyword, and for a simple one-liner like this, you don't even need the return keyword. This is, hands down, the way you want to write functions in any modern project.
So why do we even bother with functions at all? Well, imagine you're building a website and you need to calculate the area of, say, product images in 10 different places. Without a function, you are literally copying and pasting that same logic 10 times. And if you need to change that logic, you gotta hunt down all 10 copies and update every single one. What a pain. With a single function, you write it once, you call it whenever you need it, and if you need an update, you change it in just one place. It makes your code so much cleaner and way, way easier to maintain.
Okay, so we have our reusable blocks of code, our functions. Awesome. Now we've got to connect them to the user, and this is where events come into play. Events are basically how our code listens for and reacts to what the user is actually doing on the page. The real workhorse for handling events is this method called addEventListener. It's pretty simple, actually. You just grab an element from the page, like that like button we talked about, and then you tell it what to listen for, in this case, a click. The second part is the function that you want to run when that click actually happens. And just like that, boom, your static button is now fully interactive. Now, here's something really cool. When an event fires, the browser doesn't just run your function, it also passes along this special event object. And trust me, this object is a goldmine of information. For an input field like you see here, we can use event.target.value to see exactly what the user is typing, character by character, in real time. This is the secret sauce behind things like live search bars and instant form validation. All right, let's talk about a quick but super crucial pro tip. Just like you can add event listeners, you should also clean up after yourself and remove them when they're not needed anymore. If you don't, you can create these nasty things called memory leaks, where your page just holds onto resources it doesn't need and it slows everything down. Now, here's the catch, and this trips a lot of people up. You have to pass the exact same function to remove event listener that you used to add it in the first place. Not a copy, not one that just looks identical. The original. Super important to remember. Okay, so we know how to make things work. That's great. But now let's talk about how to make them work well. These next few techniques are really what separate the professional high-performance code from, well, everything else. I mean, we've all been there, right? You're scrolling down a really long page or you're resizing your browser window and everything just starts to stutter and lag. That's because events like scroll and resize can fire hundreds, even thousands of times per second. And if you're running a complex function on every single one of those events, well, you're going to overwhelm the browser fast. And here are the two main solutions to that problem: debounce and throttle. Let's break it down. Think of debounce like a patient friend who waits for you to completely finish your sentence before they reply. It's perfect for a search bar, right? It waits until you've stopped typing for a moment before it sends off the search request. Throttle, on the other hand, is more like a friend who only checks in with you every few minutes. It's awesome for scrolling, making sure your function runs at most once every, say, 200 milliseconds, no matter how frantically you scroll. They both limit how often your code runs, but in these really useful different ways.
And here is another absolute game changer for performance: event delegation. So instead of putting a separate click listener on every single one of, say, 100 items in a list, why not put just one listener on their parent container? It is so much more efficient, it uses way less memory, and this is the best part, it automatically works for new items that you add to the list later. No extra work required.
And this is exactly what that looks like in code. See? We just attach the listener to the parent UL element. Then, inside our function, we use that event object to check if the thing that was actually clicked, the event.target, was an li element. If it was, then we run our code. It's one listener to rule them all. It's just incredibly elegant.
So, let's tie all of this together. We've gone through a lot, from the very basics of functions all the way to advanced event optimization. This whole thing is about moving beyond just making stuff work and starting to write code that's truly smart, efficient, and, actually maintainable in the long run.
Here's a simple little checklist to keep in your back pocket. First, keep your functions focused. One function, one job. Do it well. Second, use descriptive names so your code basically reads like a story. And when you have those events that fire like crazy, like scrolling, use debounce or throttle to keep things running smoothly. And finally, for any list of items, always delegate your events to a single parent listener. I promise you, following these rules will dramatically improve the quality of your code.
So there you have it. You now get the dynamic duo of JavaScript: reusable functions and responsive event handling. You have the patterns, you have the tools to build web experiences that aren't just functional but are actually performant and professional. So really, the only question left is, what are you going to build with them?